Welcome back to the Sarah and Suzanne YouTube channel. We're here in Central Oregon, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which has to do with buyer representation and buyer relationships. Today, we're going to tell you about what is a buyer's representation agreement, what are my options, and why do we even need one? If you're thinking about buying property of any kind here in Central Oregon, you might have heard agents talk about buyer agency agreement. Even if you click that little I want a tour button on Zillow or Redfin, then the person that buys those ads gets a phone call. They pick up that phone call. They're supposed to be talking to you about buyer's representation because we all work for money, right? We don't work for free. And we want to make sure that when we work with our clients that we understand agency, and we also want our clients to understand how we get paid. So in plain English, a buyer's representation agreement means we're dating, right? It formalizes our team as your representation. And this gives you the certainty that you have people who are working for you full time. And it gives us a certainty that us working for you full time is not going to waste, and you are just going to take the information we give you and use another buyer's agent. Really, it spells out what we do, what our allegiance to you looks like, what our agency to you looks like, how we communicate as a team, and how our compensation works. And it gives us the green light to move fast and negotiate hard on your behalf, because it means we're getting paid what we deserve. And then you have zero guesswork or surprises, right? Conversations around money are extremely important, especially when it comes to real estate. So what does that look like day to day for us? Basically, you get strategy from us up front. You get targeted property sourcing for on and off market properties. You get efficient showings. You get real pricing and comp analysis. We use paid programs for doing that not everyone can afford. You get smart offer structures, and basically you just get hands-on management from us from contract to close. And that includes things like inspections, vendors, appraisal strategy, title and escrow, timelines, and then paperwork, right? There's so much paperwork and contracts that are very important to understand when it comes to your real estate transaction. So really, people who don't know anything about what we do for a living as real estate agents think, oh, they just go and open doors. But no, we wear lots and lots of hats, and we manage successful businesses, at least those of us that do this full time. So we're worth what we get paid. We all have our own self-worth. So here's what else we need to talk about. It's the law. It is actually required of us for whom we work with. Those of us who are licensed real in the state of Oregon are required to have buyer's representation agreements before we can start really legally representing you. There may be occasions where we make exceptions, but we're not supposed to, okay? But there's lots of options for making you feel good and us understanding our relationship. So why sign anything at all? First, again, clarity. Everyone knows the scope, the process, the expectations. Second, like I said, it's legal protection. We owe you loyalty, confidentiality, and full advocacy. And again, by us feeling like you recognize and value our worth, you're going to get the best work out of us as well. So we do things for you like disclosing material facts and negotiating your best interests. And then third, speed. This is something we really excel at on our team. And when you're our designated client and when we know you are active, you're going to get the fastest service from us, which really makes a difference in the real estate market. I don't care what kind of market it is. I will always tell you that time is always of the essence in real estate. And I will move as fast as I think makes sense to move fast for you when I am fully advocating for you. So let's talk compensation clearly. For us and our team, everybody is different. So I'm only speaking for the coin, home, and investment team here in October of 2025. Our standard buyer's agent's compensation is 2.5% on purchases of more than $500,000, and then we charge 3% on purchases less than $500,000. Why? Because it doesn't matter the price of the property, it's still the same amount of work. Or in many cases, actually, homes that are under that $500,000 price point usually have a whole slew of issues that actually make it a lot more work at that price point. So that reflects for us our full service of a top producing team at this point in October 1st of 2025. Our team has 3 full-time agents and 3 full-time support staff. And we pay a brokerage as well, right? You may think 2.5% of purchase price feels like a lot, but if you really start to break it down and understand that there's 3 people living full time on these wages here in the US, and then we also employ 3 full time assistants in the Philippines, and that is their full time wage as well. Plus, we pay a brokerage, plus, we have to hold money aside for taxes, usually about 30% every year. Like at the end of the day, it's not as much as you might think. Basically, we know our value, and that's where we're at, right? So our resources are unique. We are a unique team because we find, analyze, and negotiate quality deals that a lot of people don't even know exist or don't even know could be done. And we're consistent about it. So that's really the biggest difference that sets us apart, right? We've been doing this for several years together every single day, and we'll be doing it for several years together again into the future forever, right? We are here, we're not going anywhere. In our market, this is the most important thing to know, you guys, because when you sign a buyer's representation agreement, it looks like, hey, we are signing, and it actually does say, we are agreeing to pay you 2.5% or 3% of our purchase price. That's what it says in the buyer's representation agreement. And in our market still, sellers typically plan to pay for buyer's brokerage compensation. And it is actually written into our offers as a seller credit at closing. Always been the way it's worked. Nothing has changed about the way we get paid, except now we are disclosing it on a piece of paper. And not only are we committing to you, but you are committing to us. So I really like it personally. We know who our serious are and the people that are serious about working with us. It weeds out the looky and the people hoping to waste our time and just glean information. So the deal is your price and your terms are still negotiated on their own merits, right? And our income, our commission is not negotiable. Like we do not negotiate our commission with you. Like this is our pricing unless it comes up from the seller side. The seller may counter back and say, hey, I'm only willing to pay a buyer's agent's commission of 2.25%. And in that case, you as the buyer would be left paying our quarter point. And given the amount of work that we put into this historically, buyers have had to pay $0 to have full representation. Really, the seller has been responsible for paying us all along, like having to pay a small amount or a small fee that can be wrapped into your mortgage, or you can use seller credits to pay for our compensation, something that you don't even have to think twice about, to be totally honest. It's less common. We have buyers that come to us and say, hey, Sarah and Suzanne, please represent me as a buyer and I will pay you to represent me as a buyer on this off-market deal, on this creative deal, because they know our value, they know our worth, we've earned their trust already, and they know that we can get them to a finish line with better results than they could do on their own, and they're willing to pay us for our services. We'll always show you the math before you sign anything. It will be very clear on your buyer's representation agreement, but in 95% of our transactions, buyers do not have to worry about forking anything out of their own pocket for our paycheck at closing. But what this representation agreement will inform you is that it's possible that you might have to. While a buyer's representation agreement says we represent you fully as the buyer, not the seller, there is some different types of representation. Sometimes, and especially because we are a team and we have lots of people on our team in order to divide and conquer with, we often do dual representation, right? It comes up. Sometimes we have a listing and we have a great buyer for it already in our pool. Or sometimes we have a listing and we have a buyer call us, give us a sign call, and they're like, hey, I really like working with listing agents. I'd really like to work with you. And as long as everyone is informed, we give informed written consent, our role changes when that happens. We still facilitate the deal, but we can't share confidential information like price ceilings or motivations. Really, we end up just being conveyors of information when dual agency happens, because we really at that point can't advocate for one side or the other, because we represent all sides. So for that reason, many clients do prefer a designated agent from our team, which we can also accommodate, right? So we can say, hey, Sarah, you're still representing the seller, but Mackenzie or Suzanne, you are representing the buyer in this case. And at that point, we cut off all team communication. We have all communications with our VAs and escrow and all that separate. And we can continue to have essentially designated agency, right? Back to how we work, because not only do we sometimes represent the buyers, but we often successfully represent both sides. And in my opinion, it tends to be in everyone's best interest because nothing in that case gets lost in communication. And we already know how to best communicate with our team. I hope that makes sense. But it's not for everybody. When we work with you, we start with a strategy conversation, right? Your goals, your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, timing, and budget. Those two things are also pretty important. In this process, we align on neighborhoods and product types. If you are our investor crowd or you're just investor curious, we can layer on information for you about house hacking or different value add options that still make sense for your primary home. We also tend to source lots of off-market deals. Wholesalers bring us things. People bring us deals first that they know or think our clients will align with. We have great relationships with other people in our industry, and that is really helpful. Once we find a property or properties, we do efficient tours, whether you are in person, we put them all together, we go path of least resistance, or we also do really amazing remote video tours with all of our great candid commentary. And we give you strategies and help you position to win offers without overpaying while still being competitive. So once you're in contract with us, you get calm project management. We are not alarmist, and we assume that everybody comes to these transactions with the best intentions, and we assume the best about everyone, and that's how we operate. And we are filters, really filters for difficult things happening behind the scenes, and we bring you things in nice, tidy little packages so you can remain as stress-free and clear and direct as possible throughout the process. So all of this involves things like our inspection strategy. If we need quotes from different vendors for repairs, we help coordinate that. We help with the appraisal and appraisal negotiations. And then, of course, all of your milestone check-ins, and we're timeline coordinators once you're under contract in an effort to avoid any 11th hour surprises. Now I want to talk about a few quick questions that I get all the time. Do I lose negotiating power if I sign this agreement? The answer is no. Really, you gain it. Again, to reiterate, clear agency lets us package your offer to win, right? You have price, terms, credits, and timelines that protect you and appeal to the seller. And if we know that you're committed to us, then we can be committed to you and fully use all of our resources in order to represent you and help you negotiate all these things. Another question. What if I find a place on Zillow? Or what if it's new construction? Yeah, perfect. Exactly. Send it to us. We love new construction, and there's no reason to have representation from the new construction side on the buyer side because their interests really lie with the seller, and there are ways to negotiate wins with new construction despite what you've been told. And then as far as like the Zillow thing goes, just I know they set up these websites to entice you to click those buttons for instant gratification, but everybody gets their business in different ways. And let me just say, like, if instant gratification is your thing, I get it, then click that button. I guess that's all I have to say. But my advice would really be otherwise to know your agent, like your agent, trust your agent, and screenshot that or send your agent that you're already working with a link to what's on Zillow or Redmond that you've found, because then we can go get all the information behind the scenes. We already know what your goals are ideally and can tell you whether we think this aligns or not. How long is the commitment on this buyer's representation agreement? Our default is usually about 6 months to a year. It really doesn't matter. It's really like you choose. What I will say is it's not a pair of handcuffs. Yes, you sign this agreement in good faith, but you can get out of it at any time you want, just with written notice. In our buyer's agency agreements, we do not At this time in October of 2025, we do not put in any penalties or fees for people breaking their agreement before the end of the term, but I can't speak for others. Others might. We already touched on this a little bit, but honestly, probably the biggest question is what if a seller won't pay your fee? We map out options, right? I'm telling you, there's a solution to everything. If people want it, there is a solution to everything. Options for this, we can negotiate a seller credit and then you can use that to pay us. Otherwise, like one really easy fix is to just adjust the purchase price up ever so slightly, like maybe it's that extra $2,000 or $3,000. And then that only makes a difference of $10 a month in your mortgage payment, but it gets us paid in our complete and entirety. Why hire us specifically? Our edge is strategy and speed. We are investor minded and we lean on analysis, and we're also very forward and direct in how we work. We're organized, we are kind, and we are relentless also. We are very consistent. We have built a community here and a team, so you can just come in and do the fun stuff. That's our hope. And we truly believe that real estate is a long game and a marathon, and that these relationships that we have matter more than anything. And we recognize and we're okay with the fact that we are not for everyone, but we are for people who value our speed, value our analysis, value our direct communication. And we also really love those primary home buyers that understand what a great investment owning a home is and just really are interested in leveraging it and making the best decisions around where they put their money. If that sounds like a partnership that you want, we can send you over a short buyer's representation agreement with the term that you prefer. Just let us know. This will include, of course, as we've already talked about, a summary of our compensation, so it's crystal clear. And then we can have a meeting and talk about what next steps are. So in this case, you'll know exactly what we do, and we'll know what to expect from you, and you'll know what to expect from us. And we'll all communicate, hopefully, happily ever after. And then from there, it really is just about your timeline, moving intentionally, staying flexible. And then our goal is just getting you across the finish line with the best possible results. If you're ready to start or you just want to understand your options, send us a message, book a quick call. Let's design the plan for you and your next move on your terms. Thanks again for watching. Please like this video, share with your friends, let everybody know about us.